Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 19 of Talk Sports. Today, I'm going to go over the other half of my Big Ten preseason rankings before the season. I will do this again right before the season starts. Let's get to it. First, I'm going to give you the 3 Big Ten Coaches of the Year preseason prediction. Number 3, I have Matt Ruhle. Number 2, Mike Locksley. And number 1, Luke Fickell. Now let's circle back to number 3. Matt Ruhle from Nebraska. The reason I have him here is I think that Nebraska is going to be a lot better this year compared to when they had Scott Frost last year. I think Ruhle's going to do a better job of recruiting. He already showed what he could do recruiting-wise when he was the coach at Temple. I think you will see in the next slide, the next 2 slides, where I have Nebraska going in their first year under Matt Ruhle. My number 2 preseason Coach of the Year candidate I have is Mike Locksley from Maryland. The reason I have Locksley at number 2 and not number 1 is because there's a certain guy I have at number 1 that I will talk about in a couple minutes. The reason Locksley's at number 2 is I think Maryland, as you saw when I did my preseason rankings for the Big Ten East, I have Maryland finishing in the top 2. And you'll see a little bit down the road in this show where I have Maryland, how far I have them going in the Big Ten. If somehow they can win the Big Ten East and beat Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Rutgers, which they probably will beat Rutgers. But let's get to number 1. Number 1 is Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. I love this hire for Wisconsin. He took a Cincinnati program in the AAC at the time that nobody knew about, and he put them on the map. He put them on the map and helped them get exposure to the big time. He won the American Athletic Conference 2 out of the 4 years. I think it was 3 out of the 4 years he was at Cincinnati. I love this hire for Wisconsin. I think their athletic director did a great job of finding the next head coach after Paul Chryst got fired last year. And Wisconsin is another team you'll see here in a minute where I have them in my rankings. Now, the moment you have all been waiting for. Here's slide number 2. We get into my preseason rankings for the Big Ten West. At number 7, I have Illinois. The reason I have them at number 7 is because, as you see on the screen, 1, it's they're going through a QB battle between Donovan Leary and Luke Altmaier. I'm not going to say the third guy's name because I don't think he's going to compete at all with those two. I think it's either going to be Altmaier or Leary. And then the second reason I have Illinois here is because of their schedule. They have winnable games, but they have games that can also become trap games. For example, they play Kansas. And Kansas was not a pushover last year. Kansas was good last year in football. And I think Kansas will be good again this year. And when I do my Big 12 rankings, you'll see where I have them. It's just a little teaser for a future episode. But anyway, back to. So the reason I have them at number 7, like I said, is because of their schedule that you could consider to be tough, and a QB battle going on. Number 6, I have Northwestern. And the reason I have Northwestern here is due to the fact that they have a young wide receiver core and a young defensive line. And there's rumors out there that if they don't do good this year, Pat Fitzgerald, their coach, could get the boot. He could get fired. But I don't see that happening. Number 5 is Iowa. And the reason I have them at 5 and not higher is because they have a young offensive line and a young linebacker core. They have 2 juniors and the rest are sophomores or freshmen in their linebacker core. And their offensive line is also young as well. And I like Iowa. I think when I did this before the season, I could have them ranked higher. It's just the unknown right now of what their offensive line is going to look like and who is their starting linebackers going to be. At number 4, I have Minnesota. If you've noticed, I put Minnesota here for 2 reasons. One, they're replacing Tanner Morgan with a new QB who played maybe 2 games last year, and he's a freshman. And they also have a young wide receiver core with the most experienced wide receiver being, I believe, a sophomore or junior. I could be wrong, but if I'm looking at their depth chart like I did, they have a couple freshmen. Chris Offman-Bell is one. He is pretty good. Don't get me wrong. He's good, but I don't think Minnesota finishes. When I do this again before the season starts at the end of this month, at the beginning of next month, I could have Minnesota higher. I could have them right around here. Now the next team we're going to talk about is the Cornhuskers in Nebraska. I have them at number 3, and there's 2 reasons I have them at number 3. One of them you heard earlier in the last segment as to why they're here, and I gave you a teaser as to why you should have looked ahead to this part. Number 3, Nebraska, and I have them here because they have a new head coach and Matt Ruhle, and I think Matt Ruhle is going to do good things with Nebraska, not just this year, but going forward. I think they're going to be very, very, very competitive in the Big Ten West. And the other reason I have them here is because they also have a new quarterback coming in. I don't remember his name, but they have a new QB coming in. And I could see another little teaser. The next segment, you may see Nebraska as one of my preseason predictions for a certain championship game. Just a little teaser. Little teaser. And number 2, I have Purdue. I meant to say new QB and returning coach. That was an autocorrect on my part when I made the slideshow, but I meant to say new QB and returning coach for Purdue. Forgive me. I think Purdue finishes here because I think they're going to do better. And Jeff Brom is the coach, of course, the new coach. Correction. He's the returning coach for Purdue. They have a new QB, but I think they finish here. And when I do this again before the season starts next month, you may see them higher or right in this range. And the number 1 team, drumroll please, is Wisconsin. I explained why I think they're going to do good this year and finish number 1 in the Big Ten West. It is because of the new head coach, Fickell, and their new quarterback transfer from Texas, Hudson Card. I think they win the Big Ten West and represent the Big Ten West. In my next segment, which you will see in 3, 2, 1. Here are my 3 preseason Big Ten Conference Championship game predictions. Number 3, like I said, I said teaser as to Nebraska and 2 other teams being here in the conference title game. Number 3, I've got Nebraska versus Ohio State in the Big Ten. Number 3 preseason prediction for college football Big Ten Conference Championship is Nebraska versus Ohio State, and I have Ohio State winning 45-24. I think Nebraska could possibly make the Big Ten title game. This is preseason. They could make it if they win. If they flip their record from last year, they were 3-9 last year. If they get anywhere close to 10 to 11 wins, they could represent the Big Ten West in the Big Ten championship game. Number 2, Big Ten title game, preseason prediction for football. I've got Purdue versus Maryland, and I've got Purdue winning 35-21. Those of you, there's some of you that might laugh at me and say, Alec, you are crazy for having Purdue and Maryland be in the Big Ten championship game. No, I'm not. I think there's an outside chance both of them make it. One of them wins it and represents the Big Ten as the Big Ten champion and gets one of the 6 spots that goes to the title, the conference champions for the college football playoff. And number 1, I have Take that off. And the number one Big Ten title game prediction for preseason that I have is Wisconsin and Ohio State, with Ohio State winning the Big Ten title in football 45-35 over Wisconsin and Coach Fickell. Ohio State sticking it to their former offensive coordinator, Luke Fickell, in his first year at Wisconsin, and Ohio State winning the Big Ten. And thank y'all for coming out to the show. Please feel free to like and leave your comments in the comment section with questions, and I will respond to them as quick as possible. I will be back on Wednesday. There will be no stream tomorrow since it is 4th of July. Have a happy and safe 4th of July, everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Have a good night. That is the end of the show. Goodbye.